It is now my pleasure to turn the webcast over to James Davidson, VP of Digital Strategy with 7 Summits. James, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much. So hi, everyone, and welcome to our Gamification 201 webinar. Just a few items I'd like to address right out of the gate is we will be participating today with the help of Hitachi Data Systems and SolarWinds. So we have some attendees that are going to introduce themselves momentarily. Additionally, if you're kind of tweeting the webinar, you can use the hashtag #GamifySOCBiz, which you can kind of see there in the bottom left-hand corner. So if you want to tweet throughout the webinar, that would be great. Let's jump through the agenda real quickly. So we'll kind of walk you through what we're covering today. So we'll just do a quick round of introductions by the panelists that are going to be joining us today and kind of presenting their material. Then 7 Summits myself, I'll be walking through a quick overview of best practices within Jive as we kind of look at Bunchball and gamification. We'll then be kind of handing over to our panelists. So we're going to have Hitachi kind of really give us an overview of their community implementation and then really an overview of what they've done with Bunchball. And then we'll hand over to SolarWinds, and then we'll be jumping to a panelist Q&A session. So if you have questions as we're kind of going throughout the material, you can kind of use the Q&A feature, which you should be able to see in your console there. Post your questions. We'll be working to kind of prioritize those throughout the session, and we're hoping to have about a good 15 to 20 minutes at the end of today's session to really answer those questions with our panelists. So without any further ado, let's do some introductions. So let's start with Michael. Michael, can you kind of do a quick introduction to yourself, 30 seconds, and then we'll kind of go over to Donna and Nick.
Sure. My name is Michael Torok. I'm Director of Community over at SolarWinds, and pretty much I spend my entire day in and about Slack.com.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Donna.
Yes, my name is Donna Garber, and I'm the Enterprise Community Manager for the HDS community here in Santa Clara.
Great, thank you. And Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick Gable. I work with Donna here at Hitachi Data Systems. I also help manage the external customer community.
Great, thank you guys. Okay, so we're going to quickly jump into some gamification best practices. So before we kind of jump into this, the webinar today, we're expecting you to have kind of a basic knowledge of really Jive and also the Bunchball plugin. But we can also kind of walk you through some of those best practices, and then obviously as we jump into the community implementations of those, we'll cover some of the details in more detail. But we're hoping you have a kind of a working knowledge really coming into this. So a quick introduction to 7 Summits. We were founded in 2009. We've got a team about 70 strong. We're kind of based in the Midwest, but we do have roots across the U.S. We're working with about 90 different clients, and we've done a lot of Jive implementations. We have kind of 3 core areas of competency. So we like to define ourselves as a social business agency, and we have strategy and advisory services, user experience, and then technology. So we've done a lot of great work. We're a partner with Jive as well as Bunchball, and Hitachi actually is one of our clients as well. So we really look forward to kind of sharing that case study today. So the first thing we wanted to do is kind of do a little bit of a level set around gamification. So one of the key things that we hear a lot, and really this, I think these Gartner quotes really sum this up, is that a lot of companies in the world are kind of looking to apply gamification to their different digital products by the end of 2014. Yet Gartner predicts that about 80% of these gamified applications will fail to meet their business objectives. So I think this is kind of a nice setup as we kind of think about some best practices and how we actually apply gamification to your community to drive measurable outcomes. What are some ways to do that? So some common criticisms that we hear is, it creates this artificial sense of achievement, and that really these badges are somewhat meaningless, and who really cares if I become the emperor? It's not fun or engaging. This is too hard or I'm bored. How do I kind of keep leveling up, and why? How do we encourage the unintended and unwanted behaviors? Like certain users will learn how to kind of game the system. It's just a simple reward system that really lacks real impact and value for my business. Will this badge really help me to kind of eat better, or will this really kind of drive me to behavior within the community? And I think the key thing that we would like to kind of sum up as we kind of think of these criticisms is really a lack of alignment between your community strategy and gamification are often to blame for the poor engagement results you might be seeing. So another key thing that we hear from our clients is, okay, so we've got Jive, we're looking to kind of deploy Bunchball. when exactly do I want to kind of handle this in my implementation? So if we look on the left-hand side, typically your project lifecycle might be a little bit different, but you kind of go through a definition phase. You're really figuring out what your community is. And really at that point, some of the common questions you're asking yourself is, how do we align our community with our business process? What certain Jive features should we enable? How do we simplify the user experience? What are the community metrics that are most important? And how do I drive adoption at launch? And these are all key questions and the right kind of questions, but I think the key thing that gets lost here is, where gamification fits and aligns with really kind of supporting your objectives and needs. And then really post-launch, you quickly pivot from kind of once your community is out the gate and live to, how do I drive user engagement? Is there an easy way to identify and incent my community advocates? How do I keep users coming back? And how do I measure community vitality? These are the common questions that we see. And I think really as you think about your gamification implementation, you really need to think about it both in a pre-launch capacity and how to plan and make that really part of your process as you're kind of defining your community, as you're building out your use cases. But also, it's very critical to kind of have a plan for that as you look at kind of a post-launch implementation. So don't make it an afterthought. Really make sure that it's planned, managed, and measured, and it really you mature this implementation with your community as it matures. So how do you align your gamification with your strategy? I think the first thing you really need to do is kind of review your critical business objectives and goals. So what are the things that you're trying to drive with your community, and how are you going to measure those from a business perspective? The next key thing from a gamification perspective is really who. What is the target audience that you're identifying? And then really what is the value to that target audience? As you think about gamification, I think a simple way of thinking about this is, why do I care if I'm a user? The next key thing is, once you've kind of aligned yourself on what your business objectives are and your goals, who your audience is, and what the value is to the user, it really helps to kind of then think about how you can apply Bunchball and gamification to really guide the what. And I think the last thing is the how. So once you've kind of got your broad uses of gamification really defined, then it's really about the plan. So as you kind of look at your project plan for implementation, how are you going to really roll out your gamification features in a pre- and a post-launch capacity? So some gamification considerations, I think, in terms of where does it fit, we see that there are kind of a few key focus areas. One thing that it can definitely impact is really the membership. So every community has a kind of focus on really driving membership adoption. And a lot of key questions come up or kind of areas of focus. And, why do users really want to engage? What are the messages on the community that we really want them to consume? How do we really want to make sure that they're having a great user experience and they're actually getting some satisfaction out of this? And really from a motivators perspective, how are we engaging folks? From an operations perspective as well, you're going to be asking about the role of your community and the integration to your business process, your messaging or content strategy, design content and utility, and really how are you kind of measuring advocacy and loyalty with your community. And we think really these are all things that can be heavily impacted by gamification. So I guess the key thing to think about as you're really planning for gamification is, first, as we said, really review your business and community objectives. What are the things that you're really trying to achieve? What do you want to do? Really then align that with what your users want to do and what are their needs and really what motivates them. Then really focus on really what Bunchball and the feature set that you have available to you can really do. And then really roll that into your strategy and implementation. And again, you don't need to turn on everything from day one. I think that's one of the key things that we would say if you kind of look at your gamification implementation. It's good to hold some things back and not do everything on day one, because I think you can also run the risk of really overwhelming users. So there are some key best practices that we've really pulled together throughout our collective level of implementations of Jive and Bunchball. And one is that you definitely need to, if you're looking at deploying Bunchball for a community that's already in existence and doesn't have it, you want to make sure that you really benchmark your community metrics prior to adding gamification. The greatest rewards should be the ones that provide greatest business value. Don't incent the wrong thing. So if you really want to incent people to answer questions, or if you really want to incent them to follow or certain action inside Jive, make sure that's the thing that you're really focusing on. Don't incent the wrong kind of things. Like if a like isn't something that's really giving you value, make sure you weight that appropriately. Make sure there's a combination of easy and difficult to get rewards. I think make sure that you don't have users maxing out the points too early. Consider unexpected badges for a surprise and delight factor. Let the community know gamification is coming before you flip the switch. I think it's one of these great features, but you really want to build some excitement up for this as you're kind of looking at your activation adoption strategy. Create content that guides members through gamification features and be prepared to respond to feedback. Consider how existing jive points and status levels will be applied to your gamification model as you kind of move forward with Bunchball. And really review the default gamification settings and test. I think this is something you've got to kind of do. A test and readjust is something that we would recommend all the time. So some key takeaways as we kind of look at really best practices of a Bunchball implementation. Make sure that you align Bunchball with your community strategy, and that's really the key to success. Ensure that the gamification statistics are mapped and included within your measurement plan and reporting. I think the key thing is if you're reporting out to your executive team or the project sponsors, make sure that these metrics are actually included in that and obviously tie back to your objectives. Continually monitor and modify your Bunchball configuration. What maybe worked with kind of a Generation 1 community when you were just trying to drive adoption and users really accessing the community might need to change and shift as your community matures. And I think the key thing is don't set it and forget it. You really want to make sure you're looking at these measures and refining them over time. Frequency of action is also a factor as well, and you want to make sure that you don't reward items too heavily, that you don't have people really ascending the ranks too quickly. Set rate limits and or daily challenge limits on all rewards and have a cap. And lastly, commenting is a unique case. So instead of just sending everyone to comment, I think you really want to focus on quality rather than quantity. So make sure that you reward people for helpful or insightful comments versus just missed responses to things that really don't add a lot of value to your community. So with that, we're going to hand over to Hitachi and Donna or Nick to kind of walk us through their implementation of Jive and Bunchball. Donna or Nick?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, James. We're with Hitachi Data Systems, as you know, and Hitachi is a wholly owned subsidiary of Hitachi Limited. It's a company that's been around for more than 100 years, and the focus of HDS is we're really focused on helping our customers to use their information, convert huge stores of data into information that they can use to innovate. And that's the general focus of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Next slide.
Next slide, please.
Great. Is that showing up for everyone okay?
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so about a 3-second delay.
So the community that Nick and I are focused on right now is the external HDS community. It was really started as a peer-to-peer technical information sharing community. We had something pre-existing for a couple of years. It was forums.hds.com, and it was really not monitored at all by HDS people. It was something that our customers and partners were self-servicing and sharing information with each other. And they were dying to get some participation from HDS, and that was one of the impetus that helped us realize that we were missing in the marketplace, and we really needed to create a community where we were there too, as well, to engage with them. So we really set out to show them that we wanted to hear what they were saying, and we wanted to participate in making sure that they got the information that they needed. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm on the next slide. It might just be a little while catching up.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. So we started with an area that we have for our services specialization partners. We have an internal community as well called The Loop, and we have information there for our services. And so we wanted to be able to pull out this really valuable content from the Loop internally and share it outwardly with these services specialization partners. So it was a secret area, and we had a linking system where we could get this content out to them. And this was really the initial foundation for the HDS community. It helped us to kind of build closer engagement with them and better relationships, and really a way for us to demonstrate to them, starting with them, the innovation and thought leadership behind HDS. We also were looking to overcome some perceptions. The Hitachi and HDS are a pretty conservative company. We kind of, you hear, play our cards close to our chest. We don't normally have this perception that we are free and open with a lot of information. So we're really changing our culture with the community and transitioning through this, where we hear it spoken about here internally, where we're going to open the kimono, and we're really bringing our partners and customers in and getting feedback from them on our products and solutions as we develop them. And so it's really been great. It's been a growing process, but we're really starting to pick up some steam. So the next slide is what we want to talk about with the highlights that we've incorporated using Bunchball. And we started with Bunchball, not so much that we made the decision that, hey, we needed to go out and find a gamification tool to help us drive behavior and create missions, but it was really more of as we started to use Jive, and we worked with 7 Summits, we became educated to the fact that we had access to Bunchball, and we could start to create these great missions and drive certain behaviors. So it was really, as we were rolling it out back in June of 2013, when we launched the external community, we said, oh, and by the way, here's this other great tool that you have at your disposal that you can use. So we kind of really learned as we went along, and so we do have some stories that we can share later about lessons learned, and a lot of it were exactly what James was talking about. We definitely made some of those mistakes, but we wanted to really make sure that we were tailoring missions based on what it was we wanted people to do. What were the driving behaviors? What were the things that we were hoping for by use of the community, and not just for the community's sake, but for the business sake. And we had to look at those that were out of the box and decide if those were appropriate for HDS culture. So there were some that were in the system that we immediately had to say, that's not going to work for our employees or our customers. So we took out about, I think, 50% from the original ones that were in the system and created our own. We revised the points and rewards based on anticipated user activity and to incent behavior, and we did a lot of custom badges as well, things that are really working well for us, and we can talk more about these, but what you're seeing here are the Pioneer, which is recognizing and incentivizing employees internally to participate. We have the MVP, Most Valuable Professional, in the community, and that's an award that we give only to external people. We have an attendee badge, which is really starting to catch on fire when Hitachi is involved in seminars or conferences outside. When you get someone to come to your booth and participate and interact with you, we get them to sign a list, maybe for an email list or something like that, and then we can assign them the attendee badge and get them in once they get in and register in the community. So another one that we've done is the moderator, which is the M in the badge, where we identify those members of the community who are helping us to identify spam or unanswered questions or things that need to be moved to a different area or space in the community. So we're we're pulling people in, recognizing them, and giving them these badges. And then one that we've created that was really all kind of for fun was the one that you see there with a clock, where we really kind of reserve that for HDS employees who, for one reason or another, have been slow to join the community. And when they finally register, our first reaction was, well, look who joined the community. It's about time. So we created this badge, and we give it out very, very limited, and only to people that we think have a good sense of humor and are not too sensitive to that. But there's only a handful of people that we've given that one to so far.
I like to have fun with it, you know.
Yeah.
People really like getting that kind of unique. It's kind of a call out, but it's funny at the same time. So it definitely kind of gets people's attention.
Yeah, so I think we've learned from that you know, it doesn't all have to be all serious. There's different things that you can do to recognize people and have fun with it. So with that, I'll let Nick talk a little bit more about some of the success we've had with our MVP program and recognizing people there.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Donna. So as Donna briefly mentioned there, you know, we've been doing a lot in terms of an advocacy program in the community with the badges. You know, it's a great way for someone to show off their expertise, and so we created this very special, actually, we can just jump to the next slide. I'll show you with the colors on this one. But so the MVP badge, we made this bright purple color, and we don't have any other badges that are that color right now because we wanted it to really be special. And that's one thing we found about the badges, is that the visual aspect of them is part of what, you know, helps make them work. So as you can see here, we have a couple different color categories that we tend to use, and we found that, you know, the users really, they can like see a category and, you know, kind of immediately resonate with what it is. So the first four there, the blue, orange, green, and yellow, are kind of the generic, you know, reputation, mission badges, you know, the core actions that people will do day in and day out. And those have their, you know, denotations there. But then the special colors we set up, you know, we set up the red for those HDS-specific badges, the MVP, or the Pioneer, the Attendee, the ones that Donna just mentioned. And it's a really easy way to kind of, you know, look at someone's profile, you see the red badge right there, and it quickly sets them apart as, you know, an HDS employee or someone who's done something special in the community. Same with the MVP. Like I said, it's the only badge of that color, so it really stands out for the few users who do have it. They really are separate. One of the other lessons we learned early on, you know, as mentioned earlier, you don't want it to be too easy or too hard out of the gate. And when we first launched, it was a little bit too easy, especially for our power users. We only really had one level of badges. So within each of those categories, we had between, you know, 5 to 10 badges, so maybe about 30 or so total when we launched. But they were all relatively intro level. They were very quick. You could earn them within, you know, a couple days or a week of pretty consistent effort in the community. And we didn't really intend for them to be that easy, but it turns out that we had some users who were really just go-getters who were, you know, they came in and they just did everything, and they earned them all, and 2 weeks later they said, and now what, you know? So our response was, you know, we took those initial badges and expanded them out into multiple levels, and we found that really kind of lets it scale to wherever the user's at, you know? So as you can see, we have some early level 1 badges that they can earn, you know, on their first day or in a couple days, just to introduce them to the idea of gamification. And then, you know, maybe they're in there for a couple of weeks or a month and they get the level 2 badge, and that's worth some more points, and so on, to the point where, you know, the last level could take them 6 months, a year, 2 years to earn, you know, something to really keep the power users coming back, and, you know, really a long-term goal there. So we found that was really integral in helping scale the difficulty for our users, not too easy, not too hard. We'll see on the next slide here when it comes up in a second. This is kind of how we tailored some of the badges to the specific actions we wanted to drive in the community. So, you know, again, as Donna mentioned, we obviously want to incent different things differently. So, you know, for instance, liking a piece of content, that's important, but not very important relatively. So, you know, we give that a relatively low point value. Following a space, a container, another person, things like that, those are, again, good. We do want to reward that, but we don't reward it as heavily as, you know, say, posting a correct answer. You know, as we mentioned, our primary purpose is support and, you know, technical support from peer-to-peer. So we really want to incent correct answer, helpful answer, those sort of things, so we make them obviously the highest target goals to achieve in the gamification missions. And then, just again, really quickly, the attendee badge there, we've really seen some good results, getting tie into live events and ways to, bring users from a real-world conference into the community and into that digital environment. So then this last slide is some of the lessons learned, and we can save some of this for the Q&A at the end here. But so just what we're going to do moving forward, to evolve our gamification strategy. Excuse me. All right. Sorry about that. We're developing a much more thorough communication strategy right now. So as Donna mentioned, we rolled out the gamification, and we kind of said, okay, what do we do here? And as we've kind of continued to evolve it over the past year, we've realized that we're trying to put the missions more in front of users so that they know what is available and they know whenever there's a new mission. And one idea there is we're doing kind of missions of the week or missions of the month, where we're rotating through and featuring missions that may tie into certain, company objectives or just whatever we have going on in the community. We try to, call out a mission maybe in the sidebar of the community or in special spaces, and just let people know that, hey, earn this mission this month and, get a shirt or a prize or a pen or just recognition of your peers. It's all good. And then some of the, really quickly to go over some of the challenges we've had in our bunch ball implementation here, is finding time to consistently evolve the program. So, in addition to community management, reports, engagement, internal, relationships, and reaching out to other people in the organization. Sometimes it's hard to find time to do everything. And so one thing that we've kind of done as we've moved forward is, just finding a time to, schedule weekly or bi-weekly meetings on, okay, where are we at? Do we need new badges? How are we evolving the program? Really consistently working to slot that in. And then also we had some challenges, as you saw with all the colors there. Our marketing and communications department is pretty strict on what they allow in terms of brand imaging. So we've had to do a lot of back and forth with them. That your mileage may vary based on your corporate culture, but that is something we found to be quite a challenge, is getting badges approved and the visual design consistent. So anyway.
Great. Well, thank you.
For us.
Yeah, thank you, Nick and Donna. So if you have questions for Nick and Donna, just again, keep posting those. I see those already coming in right now, which is great. And we're going to pivot here to SolarWinds implementation led by Michael. So Michael, take it away.
All righty. So basically, SWAC is our, SolarWinds. Let's start with our name. We're not a green energy company. We're an IT generalist software company. We've got 29 licensed products, which I'll talk about our monthly missions a little later, but they revolve around those, and another 30 free tools. With the free tools, the only place you can receive support is actually through thwack.com. We've got 150,000 customers, 450 of the Fortune 500, and we're in 180 countries. Thwack is an evolution of our original non-Jive support forum. It's a major component of SolarWinds community strategy. We blog there. We announce product, and we announce our missions, and we announce all sorts of things on the platform. Our idea and feature request platform, so we crowdsource ideas from our community, and it's our main social platform. It's a self-help support platform. As I said, it's the only place we offer the free tool support. A series of topical places for customers, resellers, employees, visitors. Visitors only get read-only access, so we're incenting folks to actually join. We want them to connect, share, and learn. So, but what's the point of Thwack, and why does SolarWinds care? It's the hub with customers at the center. Customers connecting with one another, providing creative synergy. They create content, uses, and recognizing SolarWinds as a thought leader within the IT space. Support, products, dev, marketing, and the sales teams are the spokes, as you can see on my little bike rider there. Support sees call deflection value. Product and the dev teams get ideas and product innovation out of the community. Marketing has a two-way dialogue with our install base and potential customers, while also leveraging the community for brand awareness and thought leadership. Sales uses the existence of Thwack as a selling point, but they also use our reviews to help with sales friction. By the way, I'm in the marketing org, so getting badges isn't as difficult, but I understand. We're at the center of customer marketing, charged with engaging and retaining customer membership and giving prospects a view into the customer experience. So gamification and some of our points and missions. When we moved to Jive, we came off of Telligent, and one of the main reasons we went with Jive was actually the gamification capabilities. So we dealt with a point migration and needed to avoid point inflation. So we did not use large values for our points. And our mission goals are around incenting more customer champions, educating our current and potential customers, starting with the out-of-the-box missions, but we've actually created quite a few of our own badges and missions. One of my favorite is there on the right-hand side. It's a new to THWAC mission, which gets you to create an account, check out the content exchange, which is the ability to download an extension for your product. Vote on a feature request, which allows you to give feedback on the products. That's where we use ideation also, and we've gamed ideation. You can get support by browsing the forums, liking a thread, bookmark our roadmap post to know what's coming, and then reading 2 blogs. And then you get the full mission badge. So along the way, you're picking up points, but only through actually exploring all of the value that you can get out of THWAC do you get the full mission badge. So one of our main goals, and always was support call deflection. So the original purpose of the SolarWinds forums, even before, well, many years ago, probably 10 years ago. But we still associate a large amount of our traffic with the product-specific forums, and we incent good info and showing appreciation for good information. We give you points for liking, rating, and marking posts helpful and correct. We give you even more points when your content is marked correct. So you can see a little the values there. So one of the other major calls to action with THWAC is to guide behavior and educate people around the products. Our monthly missions are focused mainly on educating users and incenting this behavior. One of our first ones was about marking 5 helpful and 5 correct answers, and you could earn 500 points. Then we had to add on a liking. So this goes to lessons learned. Don't design your missions as an admin, because you can, as an admin, mark things correct, but threads have to be marked correct by their originator. So we added on the liking so that we could see where people were finding correct answers, even though they weren't able to mark them correct. So the halo, talking about the halo there being very powerful, we added the liking. That's just what I was just explaining. We added liking to useful and correct answers instead of marking correct and helpful all the time. They drove users to like those threads they felt were answered. We had a 180% increase in helpful answers marked. We had 240% increase in correct answers marked, and then 170% increase in likes. So it definitely works. You incent the behavior, and your community will respond. In February, after the liking mission, we drove rating. We wanted to see if we could drive rating within the threads and within content. We created this monthly mission for extra points, again, only for 500 points. So in January, you'll see that we had about 20 people rating things, and in February, we had 789. And then this is the halo. In March, again, we still had a 600% increase in people continuing to rate content. So FSM is one of our products. It's the Firewall Security Manager. This is a good example of one of our monthly missions. We asked 10 questions that dealt with both general firewall knowledge and also specific firewall security manager knowledge. And then we had 184 people complete the challenge. We had 29 join Thwack just to complete the challenge, and 4,900 views of the announcement with 69 comments on it. So some of the comments you'll see there. One of the really cool things is that this second comment is actually from a different community. It's actually from Spiceworks. So you even get traction outside your own community. So one of the other major goals is customer-to-customer interaction. And one of the things we learned pretty quickly was that our goal is to engage and retain our membership. We can't always be mired in the technical. You can't always have a sales objective or a business objective. You need to be able to have a good time. You need to have the latitude to have that good time. And that is my desk. I've got my make mistakes piece there because that's what you do. As you're building these things, you'll make mistakes. You just have to pay attention and quickly try to correct course, or try something else. And if that fails, keep correcting course until something doesn't. So we have a pretty good feel for our customers. The company itself came from 3 network admins. A number of us, when we joined, were mired in the IT world, and those founders created simple tools to do their jobs, and that's how the company was born. So we tend to want we're geeky folks, so we embrace our sci-fi, and what you'll see here is one of the go ahead, step outside of your comfort zone maybe, or your business's comfort zone, and just create something that's fun. We created a sci-fi bracket battle in March of last year. Each level was image mapped and hot linked to a gamified poll, and allowed you to vote for a winner and state your reason why they should win. So it wasn't even, there was no graphic other than here's a picture of Spock, here's a picture of Kirk, but having your community actually engage and write about why this person should come out the winner was just fascinating and really, really cool to see the interaction. We're doing it again this year. Stay tuned. Pretty soon we'll be announcing it. It's not sci-fi. So the bracket battle was a new space. These are all broken out. You can look at them later when the slide deck's forwarded. But our total views driven into the new space in less than a month were over 58,000. And then we continued having a 4-month viewing halo that yielded another 15,000 more views. So, we drew people to see the fun and to get the engagement, and they kept coming back. One of the other major components of Thwack is the crowdsourcing of ideas for the products. Just because you post an idea doesn't mean it gets into the product, but it certainly has been a great place to gather ideas for our products. They're front and center. They're right up in the navigation as feature requests. So a year and 3/4 after implementing ideation and gamification, we have 2,423 ideas with 15,500 so votes. 121 of those ideas have been implemented in products. 45 more are waiting to be implemented, which means customers drove 166 ideas. We can run a report and say, when we release a product, you asked and we listened. These are the things that came out of the community that you asked for that we put into the product. It is a very, very real report that we run, and we do point out to folks when new products come out which features came from the community. Ideas are 25 points. and voting also gains you 5 points whether you vote up or down. This is an area, this is another lesson learned I'll throw in there right now. We didn't put a delay on that voting, and the immediate gratification of watching your points go up and down triggered some folks' behavior to go ahead and game that. So we put in a delay on the points that you gather from voting, and we watched that behavior actually go away. The Spread the Word forum, also referred to at times in here probably as Save My Bacon. It's a sales friction easer. We go ahead and ask people to write about how the products saved their bacon, helped their day, did something right for them, who they displaced, and how their experience with us is going. We know that people want to hear from others using the products, so we encourage them posting and spread the word for points. You see that we've got very high points for this type of engagement. And adding gamification revitalized this part of our strategy. We weren't seeing nearly 5 to 6. We're seeing 5 to 6 posts a month now that we gamed it, but before that, we probably were seeing 1, maybe 2 posts every 3 or 4 months. So the area had, when it was first introduced, had a big impact, and then it kind of got buried. And so in gamifying it, we brought it back to the forefront. And so what do these points mean in SolarWinds land? Basically, if you get points within FWAC, we give you physical objects. You'll also notice, I mentioned I was in marketing earlier, every one of these things has our logo on it somewhere. So no matter what we give you, you're still advertising our brand, which I think is certainly was important to us. At the same time, we want to give you something that's rather cool and that we know you'll enjoy. So one of our biggest sellers is that 10,000, believe it or not, that 10,000 point backpack. It's the highest point value piece that we have right now, but it is a really fantastic backpack. So basically, yeah, points are money. And so gamification does equal results. We've, if you looked at our view count and considered about 1% of a forum's views to actually be a deferred call, in one of our product forums alone, we've saved $6 million, and that's at 1% of the views. 150 plus new ideas have been driven into the products, and we are able to point those out to our customers and encourage them to continue that behavior. We've gotten 6 times the amount of MVPs. I didn't go into that at all probably, but we are also looking for MVPs, which are most valuable player, most valuable poster, however you'd like to put it, but we look at activities on the leaderboards for those within spaces. And we've gotten 100 plus testimonials for SolarWinds in that Spread the Word forum.
Great, thank you, Michael. So we're going to shift gears here to our Q&A panel. So we've had a number of questions that have kind of been coming in throughout the course of the webcast so far. So if you have additional questions, please start sending them my way. Otherwise, I'm just going to start working through the list here. I guess the first question really goes out to Hitachi, so I'll send this one out to Nick or Donna. So Felipe asks, Hitachi, do you have an overarching narrative to the gamification platform beyond bringing you points and badges and challenges? What's the perceived value proposal for the end user? Yeah, so this is something we've actually been figuring out as we go, but what it really is in our forum, we have a lot of very technical, data technicians there, and a lot of it is really just showing off their expertise. That's why we see a lot of the ones who do what they do is they want to show off, hey, I'm the MVP, hey, I did this, I was the first person to earn this badge or, this difficult new level of something. So I think a lot of it has to do with
letting them show off their expertise and their skills and be proud of that a little bit. So really empowering the users in that sense, and helping them connect in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I'd add anything to that. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. We're going to jump to the next question here real quickly. So I think I want to kind of direct this one to Michael. So one of the key questions we've been getting here, one of the key questions is, how do I get a copy of the deck? So just to confirm that real quickly, we'll be posting a copy on the Jive community a couple of days after the webinar, as well as we've got kind of a recording of this webinar as well that will be available. So you'll get the deck and the webinar, so you've got the context. So key question here is, did you build a business case for the gamification part of your program as part of your community implementation, or was it separate? So, Michael, I want to direct this one to you. It kind of sounds like when you pick Jive, one of your key reasons or motivators for doing that was Bunchball. So do you want to talk about that a little bit more and talk about your business case and how you maybe made the sell for Jive and the Bunchball within your community?
Sure. So not to point fingers or anything, but we came off of a intelligence system that we had internally. And I think gamification was incredibly important to me because I just recognized with the people I work with that it already worked. People look at their LinkedIn profiles, and it drives them nuts that they don't have a fully completed profile, and people go ahead and they do what they need to do in order to make that a full profile. So I recognized within the behaviors of my colleagues themselves that this was something that drove them, and I wanted to go ahead and introduce that into the community because I also wanted to expand. When we were moving the community over, I mean, it was mainly a support forum, and what I really was kind of tasked with doing was also expanding it into an area not just for question and answer, but also general IT knowledge and trying to grow the thought leadership portion of it. So gamification and gaming some of the interaction on some of those posts was going to be very important. So that's the kind of business case that I put in front of my V's and C's, was to say this will drive this interaction. We will gain in thought leadership and also in just general breadth of our forums to pretty much match the breadth of area that we cover in IT software.
Great, thank you. The next one I think goes out to Hitachi or SolarWinds, so we'll shoot this one to Hitachi first. So HDS or SolarWinds, this comes from Kelly Shaw. Do you have separate missions for employee members? And how do you manage employees overtaking the leaderboard? So how are you kind of incenting your employees versus your customers as you kind of look at mission design?
That's a good question. We do not have specific missions that are only for HDS employees. We have a badge that identifies employees, and fortunately or unfortunately, we don't really have a problem with HDS employees being the ones that are sort of completing all the missions and achieving that level. What we're seeing more, I think, are external partners and subject matter experts who are really kind of our MVPs. So we're trying to incent both internally and externally engagement and involvement, but are we seeing HDS employees sort of charging ahead and achieving most of the badges? I would say no. That's not been a problem we've had.
And you're using clear badging to kind of identify who is an employee versus who's a customer or prospect within your community.
Yeah, we have an HDS permission group, and anyone in that permission group is automatically given one of those special red badges that identifies them as an HDS employee.
Great. I'll shoot that same question back to Michael from SolarWinds. Michael, how are you kind of differentiating between kind of employees and then customers or prospects within your community? Do you have kind of different missions, different badges, and how are you making sure they're not employees aren't really gaming the system?
Actually, we don't. So
okay.
in our top 10 right now, we don't. We provide the permission group tag to the small, I guess it's more of almost a tiny banner above your name. to our employees, but we don't stop them from gaining. And some of our, I'd say probably, let's see, probably four of our highest ranking people are employees, but I'm not as concerned about knocking them out, because what they're doing also is providing the information that people are enjoying getting. So I want them incented to continue to do so. So again, people who upload extensions to the products, which sometimes are product managers, wind up in our leaderboards, but people go figure out why they're in the leaderboard, and they go download that content also. So I'm not sure I see it as a problem as much as a way to also introduce people to others in the community.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to keep going on the thread of Michael. So Rachel asked you, Michael, you said you've made some mistakes. So what was the biggest mistake and lesson learned, I guess, from your implementation of Bunchball? I know that Hitachi did a really good job of covering some of these. So, Michael, what was your biggest mistake, lesson learned, if you kind of went back to something you might change the next time round?
Well, there are two of them that were really quite big. We wanted to incent people to go ahead and create maybe Camtasia videos and upload them. And we made a mission all about it. It was a month-long mission, 3,000 points. You create a video showing us how you do something, anything with our product that's kind of cool or innovative. And we got absolutely nobody providing us a video. And so what we learned was, video is hard, and our folks don't want to take that time to they'll be happy to answer some questions for other users and things of that nature, but they are not about to upload a video to our community. One of the other ones was also making sure that you are designing your, like I said before about not designing your mission as an, you need to design it as an admin, but make sure that you run through it as a regular user so that you don't make the mistake that we made about correct answers. Being that only an admin can say something's a correct answer for a thread that they did not originate.
Great, thank you. So we've got another question that came in from Rachel, and she asked, how has executive support been for the gamification component of your community implementation? So have your executive team kind of really rallied behind this? Are they actively engaged in your community? Can you kind of talk to that? I'll shoot that to Hitachi.
Okay. We are a little bit struggling to get the really top-level executive participation in the community. They know about it, they support it, but they're really not involved in it yet to date. So I think that's just really kind of a challenge for us. We don't have a big presence of our executives in the community.
Great, thank you. And then Michael, does that vary for you, or do you see your executive team quite engaged and excited about the gamification implementation?
I think it depends on what level. I think some of our senior product management and our VPs in product management are very interactive. Many of them post, but we occasionally have thought leadership from our C-level execs that goes into one of the blogging areas. But as far as just general interaction on the forums, I'd have to go with the same thing as Hitachi was saying and Donna was saying, is that we don't. I don't see our E's. They certainly support it, but I don't see them in the forums themselves much. I mean, and that, at the same time, that is not exactly, I'm not sure that it would be, it's not exactly how our community is made up anyway, so I would think that that's an okay thing for them not to be doing.
And if I could just add, we do have some pretty senior level VPs who are involved in the community and they're blogging. It's just not at the the EC level.
Sure.
And we, in fact, have a VP that's a Chief Technology Officer who's very engaged and gives us a lot of feedback and has been involved in some of the badging decisions around MVPs and discussions about pioneers. So, in fact, he was one of our early pioneers. So, not to say we have no, leaders or executives in the community. We really do. We wouldn't have been as successful as we are without that, obviously. But we haven't achieved the involvement and engagement from the very top yet.
Well, great. Well, thank you, firstly, to Jive and to Bunchball for helping to kind of host this webinar. Michael and from SolarWinds, great feedback, and Donna and Nick from HDS. I do have your Twitter handles available here. So, Donna or Michael, at least, are you okay receiving some questions in addition to what didn't get answered today via Twitter from some of our attendees?
Oh, absolutely. Would be happy to.
Great. So for those that are interested in continuing the dialogue, you can see either I've also got my handle here as well. So if you have any questions for the content the 7 Summit shared, Michael or Donna, you can kind of see their handles right here. I do want to spend one moment. We do have an additional gamification webcast coming up, Gamification 301, 5 Ways Gamification is Essential to Social Business, featuring Kim Celeste. So you can sign up for that at Jive's website. And that really concludes our webinar today. So for anyone who has additional questions, you can either email myself, james.davidson@7summitsagency.com, or Michael at Jive Software. You can kind of see his information there. Otherwise, thanks a lot, everyone. I appreciate you letting us run over a couple of minutes here. And we'll post a copy of the deck and the recorded presentation in the next day or so.
Thanks to all our participants for joining us today. We hope you found this webcast presentation informative. This does conclude our webcast, and you may now disconnect.